Welcome back to our channel on this beautiful day. We are thrilled to bring you another deep dive into the emotional labyrinth of Genoa City. Today, we explore a profoundly touching family revelation that will undoubtedly leave a lasting mark on the Winters' legacy. Grab a warm cup of coffee and let us journey together into the heart of the drama. The atmosphere surrounding Lily Winters and Holden Novak is thick with an almost suffocating emotional gravity, a heavy silence punctuated only by the unspoken traumas that bind them together. They find themselves in a quiet, secluded space, far removed from the chaotic hum of the hospital where Malcolm Winters lies in critical condition. The air between them is charged with a fragile, newly discovered sibling connection, a bond forged in the crucible of sudden tragedy and long-buried family secrets. For Lily, the weight of the world seems to rest squarely upon her shoulders. She is navigating the terrifying reality of her biological father battling severe aplastic anemia, a condition that has rapidly deteriorated and left the entire Winters family in a state of paralyzing fear. The recent revelation that twins Maddie and Charlie are not suitable bone marrow matches has plunged Lily into a desperate race against time. A nightmare where every ticking second feels like a physical blow. Amidst this agonizing medical crisis, she is now forced to process the earth-shattering discovery that Holden, the man sitting across from her, is her half-brother, the secret son of Malcolm and Dr. Stephanie Simmons. Holden Novak sits with a posture that betrays a lifetime of unresolved yearning and profound confusion. His eyes, reflecting a storm of conflicting emotions, search Lily's face for answers that have been denied to him for his entire existence. He is a man unmoored, suddenly thrust into a complex family dynamic he never knew he belonged to. The revelation of his true parentage has shattered the foundational truths of his life, leaving him to sift through the wreckage of his mother's lifelong deception. As he looks at Lily, he sees not just a newfound sister, but a bridge to the father he was told was dead. The agonizing irony of discovering his father's identity only to learn that the man is hovering on the brink of death is a cruel twist of fate that Holden is struggling to comprehend. He is consumed by a desperate, clawing need to connect with Malcolm, to somehow make up for decades of stolen time in whatever fleeting moments they might have left. This overwhelming desire prompts Holden to voice a tentative, heartbreaking inquiry about the possibility of bringing Malcolm closer to them. With a voice trembling with vulnerable hope, Holden expresses his deep-seated wish for Lily to use her influence to convince Malcolm to relocate to Genoa City for his ongoing medical treatment. Holden articulates a profound psychological need to simply be in the same geographical proximity as his father, to breathe the same air, and to have the opportunity to stand by his bedside. He views Genoa City not just as a medical hub, but as the epicenter of the Winters family. A place where Malcolm belongs, and where Holden might finally be able to carve out a space for himself within this legacy. The request is layered with an unspoken desperation, a plea for Lily to help him orchestrate a miracle that would allow him to build a relationship with a man who is currently fighting for his life. Holden's yearning is palpable, a raw, exposed nerve of a son who has spent his entire life staring at an empty space where a father should have been. He hopes that surrounded by family, Malcolm might find the strength to pull through, and in doing so, give Holden the chance to experience the paternal bond he was so callously denied. Lily listens to Holden's desperate plea with a heart that aches with a profound, multifaceted sorrow. She sees the raw vulnerability in his eyes and recognizes the agonizing hunger for a father's love, a hunger she herself has never truly had to endure in the same way, despite the complexities of her own parentage. However, Lily knows that she must gently ground Holden's soaring hopes in the harsh, complicated reality of Malcolm's history and his relationship with the Winters family. She takes a deep breath, preparing to navigate the delicate task of explaining the intricate web of love, absence, and chosen family that defines her connection to Malcolm. Lily understands that Holden is projecting a fantasy onto Malcolm, a desperate idealization of a father figure that might not align with the flawed, transient man Malcolm has often been throughout his life. She feels a deep responsibility to protect her new brother from further heartbreak by offering him a transparent, honest portrait of the man lying in the hospital bed. A portrait painted with both deep affection and painful truths. With a gentle, measured tone, Lily begins to unpack the complex history of her upbringing, carefully explaining the distinct roles that Neil Winters and Malcolm Winters played in her life. She clarifies that while Malcolm is her biological father, a truth that fundamentally altered her understanding of her identity when it was revealed, it was Neil who stood as the steadfast, everyday father figure. Lily paints a vivid picture of Neil's unwavering presence, his reliable strength, and the countless mundane, beautiful moments of parenting that he provided. She explains that Neil was the one who dried her tears, guided her through the turbulent waters of adolescence, and offered the consistent, grounded love that shaped her into the woman she is today. By sharing this, Lily is not attempting to diminish Malcolm's importance. but rather to help Holden understand that the concept of fatherhood in the Winters family is a nuanced tapestry woven with both biological ties and the profound bonds of chosen devotion. She wants Holden to realize that Malcolm's physical absence during crucial periods of her life did not negate her love for him, but it did define the boundaries of their relationship. As Lily delves deeper into her emotional history, she makes it unequivocally clear that despite Neil being her primary paternal figure, she harbors a deep, enduring, and unconditional love for Malcolm. She describes the unique, vibrant energy that Malcolm always brought into her life during his intermittent presences, the undeniable biological pull that connects them, and the fierce protective instinct she feels for him now that his life is in jeopardy. Lily's explanation is a masterclass in emotional nuance, illustrating how the human heart is perfectly capable of holding immense love for a flawed parent while simultaneously recognizing their limitations. She wants Holden to know that Malcolm is worthy of love, that he possesses a beautiful, creative soul, but that he is also a man who has historically struggled with the concept of permanence. Lily gently conveys that Malcolm has never been one to stay in one place for long, driven by a restless spirit and a complex relationship with his own demons. She attempts to temper Holden's expectations, warning him that even if Malcolm survives this harrowing medical ordeal, he might not be capable of providing the traditional, rooted father-son relationship that Holden so desperately craves. Holden absorbs Lily's words with a quiet, devastating grace. The realization that Malcolm's transient nature might preclude the possibility of a deep, enduring bond washes over him like a cold tide. He processes the nuanced portrait Lily has painted, the image of a man deeply loved but fundamentally restless. In a moment of profound maturity and heartbreaking resignation, Holden admits that he harbors no resentment toward Malcolm for his absence. He articulates a profound understanding that Malcolm cannot be blamed for abandoning a son he never even knew existed. Holden recognizes that the tragedy of their fractured relationship is not a result of Malcolm's negligence, but rather the catastrophic consequence of a singular, monumental deception orchestrated by the one person Holden trusted above all others. This realization shifts the locus of his pain away from the father he never knew and squarely onto the shoulders of the mother who raised him. The absence of anger toward Malcolm is replaced by a deep, hollow sorrow, a mourning for a relationship that was stolen before it ever had the chance to begin. With a voice thick with tears and a lifetime of suppressed anguish, Holden pivots the conversation toward the true source of his profound devastation, his mother, Dr. Stephanie Simmons. He confesses to Lily that the most agonizing aspect of this entire ordeal is not the fear of losing Malcolm, but the crushing weight of his mother's lifelong lie. Holden describes the visceral trauma of discovering that his entire foundational narrative, the story of his origins, was a carefully constructed fabrication. He grapples with the terrifying realization that the woman who nurtured him, protected him, and guided him through life was simultaneously harboring a secret of such monumental proportions that it fundamentally alters his understanding of who he is. The betrayal is absolute, a seismic shift in his reality that has left him feeling entirely unmoored, questioning every memory, every conversation, and every assurance his mother ever gave him. He is drowning in a sea of cognitive dissonance, unable to reconcile the loving mother he knew with the woman capable of such a profound, calculated deception. Holden's confession deepens as he bravely opens up about the specific, agonizing childhood traumas inflicted by his mother's lie. He paints a vivid, heartbreaking picture of what it was like to grow up as the kid with the dead dad. He recounts the countless times he stood on the periphery of playgrounds and school events, watching other children interact with their fathers, feeling a hollow ache in his chest that he could never quite articulate. Holden describes the insidious nature of the pity he received from adults and the cruel, unfiltered teasing he endured from his peers. He speaks of the profound isolation that comes with grieving a phantom, mourning a man he believed was lost to him forever, while the rest of the world seemed to move forward with intact families. The psychological toll of this fabricated grief is immense, a heavy burden that Holden was forced to carry throughout his formative years, entirely unaware that the source of his sorrow was a lie manufactured by his own mother. The pain of those childhood memories is palpable, hanging in the air between him and Lily like a physical presence. In a moment of absolute, devastating vulnerability, Holden reveals the coping mechanisms he developed to survive the emotional wasteland of his childhood. He confesses to Lily that the pain of being fatherless became so unbearable, the teasing so relentless, that he resorted to inventing a fictional reality to protect himself. He admits, with a profound sense of shame and lingering childhood sorrow, that he used to lie to the other kids, spinning elaborate tales about a father who was very much alive, just absent for heroic or mysterious reasons. Holden describes how he would construct these intricate fantasies, building a phantom father out of thin air to shield himself from the pitying stares and the cruel taunts. This revelation exposes the profound depths of his childhood desperation, illustrating the agonizing lengths to which a young boy will go to feel normal, to feel whole. The tragedy of these lies is magnified exponentially by the current reality. Holden was forced to invent a living father to cope with a fake death, while his actual, biological father was alive. oblivious, and living a completely separate life. As Lily listens to Holden's harrowing account of his childhood, her heart shatters into 1,000 pieces for the brother she never knew she had. The sheer magnitude of his suffering, the years of unnecessary grief, and the agonizing psychological gymnastics he was forced to perform simply to survive his mother's deception, hit Lily with the force of a physical blow. She feels a profound, overwhelming surge of sympathy and protective instinct toward Holden. Her own complex family history, marked by its own share of secrets and painful revelations, allows her to empathize with his pain on a deeply visceral level. Lily recognizes the agonizing betrayal of discovering that a parent has manipulated the truth, but she acknowledges that the scale of Stephanie's deception is almost unfathomable. She looks at Holden not as a stranger, but as a fellow survivor of the chaotic, often destructive gravitational pull of the Winters family secrets. The shared blood between them suddenly feels less like a biological fact and more like a profound, spiritual tether connecting their shared traumas. Lily's empathy translates into a fierce, unwavering validation of Holden's feelings. She does not attempt to minimize his pain, nor does she offer hollow platitudes about forgiveness or the passage of time. Instead, she leans in, her presence a steady, comforting anchor in the tempest of his emotional unraveling. Lily makes it abundantly clear that Holden's anger, his profound sadness, and his sense of absolute betrayal are not only justified but necessary. She silently condemns the sheer cruelty of Stephanie's actions, recognizing that by robbing Holden of his father, Stephanie also robbed him of his right to a truthful existence. Lily's quiet support creates a safe, non-judgmental space for Holden to fully experience the magnitude of his grief without fear of being misunderstood or dismissed. In this shared space of vulnerability, the bond between the newly discovered siblings solidifies, transformed from a shocking revelation into a genuine, supportive connection rooted in mutual empathy and shared sorrow. Driven by a deep desire to help Holden navigate this impossible situation, Lily gently but firmly encourages him to take the most terrifying, yet necessary, step toward healing. She urges him to tell Malcolm everything. Lily understands the immense therapeutic value of unburdening one's soul, of speaking the truth into existence, especially when dealing with a parent who is hovering on the threshold of life and death. She emphasizes that Malcolm, despite his flaws and his transient nature, deserves to know the profound impact his absence and Stephanie's lie has had on his son. Lily argues that keeping these agonizing childhood memories and the depth of his current betrayal locked inside will only serve to poison Holden's spirit, regardless of whether Malcolm survives his battle with aplastic anemia. She frames this potential conversation not as an act of accusation against Malcolm, but as a vital release valve for Holden's lifelong accumulation of grief, a necessary step in reclaiming his own narrative from the shadow of his mother's deception. Lily's encouragement is laced with a profound sense of urgency, driven by the terrifying reality of Malcolm's critical medical condition. The ticking clock of his illness casts a long, dark shadow over their conversation, amplifying the importance of every word and every decision. Lily knows all too well the agonizing pain of words left unsaid, the haunting regret that accompanies the sudden, irreversible loss of a loved one. She desperately wants to spare Holden from the unique torment of standing beside a grave, burdened by a lifetime of unspoken truths. By pushing Holden to confront Malcolm with the reality of his childhood suffering, Lily is offering him a chance at closure, a fragile opportunity to forge a connection based on absolute and varnished honesty before the window of opportunity slams shut forever. She assures Holden that while the conversation will undoubtedly be excruciatingly difficult, the pain of silence, the agony of carrying this secret alone into the future, will be infinitely worse. Holden absorbs Lily's advice, the weight of her words settling heavily upon his shoulders. The prospect of standing before a critically ill man, a father he has never truly known, and laying bare the darkest, most painful corners of his soul is a terrifying proposition. Yet, as he looks into Lily's eyes, he sees a reflection of his own desperate need for truth and connection. He recognizes the wisdom in her counsel, understanding that the only way to break free from the suffocating grip of his mother's lie is to drag it into the light. The realization dawns on him that this impending conversation with Malcolm is not just about seeking an apology or forging a bond, it is a fundamental act of self-preservation, a necessary reclamation of his own identity. Holden's internal conflict rages, a fierce battle between the instinct to protect himself from further emotional trauma and the profound, undeniable need to finally speak his truth to the man whose phantom presence has haunted his entire life. The silence that follows Lily's encouragement is profound, filled with the unspoken weight of impending confrontation. The atmosphere in the room shifts, transforming from a space of revelation into a staging ground for an emotional reckoning. Lily watches Holden grapple with the magnitude of what lies ahead, her heart aching for the difficult journey he must undertake. She silently vows to stand by his side, to offer whatever support she can as he navigates the treacherous waters of his newfound family dynamic. The bond between them, forged in the fires of shared trauma and mutual empathy, has become an undeniable reality. A small glimmer of light in the overwhelming darkness of Malcolm's illness and Stephanie's betrayal. They are two children of the Winter's legacy, bound by blood and circumstance, facing an uncertain future with a shared determination to confront the ghosts of their past. The tragic beauty of their connection lies in its profound necessity. They are the only two people in the world who can truly understand the unique, agonizing complexity of the situation they find themselves in. As the conversation slowly winds down, the sheer exhaustion of the emotional unburdening begins to take its toll on both Lily and Holden. The raw and filtered exchange of painful truths has left them drained, their emotional reserves depleted by the sheer magnitude of the revelations. Yet, amidst the exhaustion, there is also a subtle, fragile sense of relief. For Holden, the act of speaking his childhood trauma aloud, of finally sharing the burden of his fabricated grief with someone who truly understands, has provided a small measure of catharsis. The phantom father of his childhood has been replaced by the complex, flawed, and critically ill reality of Malcolm Winters, a transition that is agonizing but ultimately necessary for his healing. For Lily, the conversation has reinforced her own resilience, her capacity to hold space for the pain of others even while navigating her own profound sorrow. The shared experience has fundamentally altered the trajectory of their lives, weaving their individual narratives into a single, complex tapestry of family, betrayal, and the desperate search for connection. The hospital setting, though physically distant from their immediate conversation, remains an ever-present, oppressive force, a constant reminder of the fragile mortality that hangs over their family. The sterile scent of antiseptic, the distant hum of medical machinery, and the hushed, urgent voices of doctors and nurses serve as a grim soundtrack to their emotional reckoning. Every passing moment is a stark reminder that time is a luxury they do not possess, that the opportunity for Holden to speak his truth to Malcolm could be snatched away at any second. This agonizing reality infuses their interaction with a sense of desperate urgency, heightening the emotional stakes of every word spoken and every tear shed. The juxtaposition of the profound, lifelong emotional trauma they are discussing against the immediate, life-or-death medical crisis unfolding nearby creates a suffocating atmosphere of tension and despair. It is a cruel irony that the discovery of their sibling bond is inextricably linked to the potential loss of the man who connects them, a tragic twist of fate that underscores the unpredictable, often devastating nature of life in Genoa City. In the depths of his internal monologue, Holden continues to wrestle with the image of his mother, Dr. Stephanie Simmons. The cognitive dissonance is deafening. How does one reconcile the warm, nurturing presence of a mother with the cold, calculating architect of a lifelong deception? He replays countless childhood memories, searching for cracks in her facade, subtle hints of the monumental secret she was harboring. Every birthday, every holiday, every quiet moment of maternal comfort is now tainted by the dark shadow of her lie. Holden realizes that his mother's deception was not a single, isolated event, but a continuous, daily choice to deny him the truth of his existence. The sheer stamina required to maintain such a profound fabrication for decades is both terrifying and heartbreaking. He grapples with the agonizing question of whether her actions were driven by a twisted sense of protection or a selfish desire for control. A question that threatens to consume him from the inside out. The foundation of his trust in the world, built upon the bedrock of his mother's love, has completely crumbled, leaving him adrift in a sea of profound uncertainty. Lily, observing the subtle shifts in Holden's expression, can almost hear the chaotic gears of his mind turning, grinding against the painful realities of his past. She recognizes the hollow, haunted look in his eyes, a look that speaks volumes about the profound psychological damage inflicted by parental betrayal. Lily's own experiences with the complexities of the Winters family have taught her that the path to healing is rarely linear, often fraught with setbacks, anger, and moments of overwhelming despair. She knows that Holden is standing at the precipice of a long, arduous journey. A journey that will require him to dismantle the false narrative of his life and painstakingly rebuild his identity upon a foundation of painful truths. Her silent support is a testament to her profound empathy. A recognition that sometimes the most powerful act of love is simply bearing witness to another person's suffering without attempting to fix it. Lily's presence offers Holden a vital lifeline, a tether to reality in a world that has suddenly become unrecognizable. The legacy of Neil Winters looms large in Lily's mind as she navigates this delicate conversation. Neil's unwavering commitment to truth, his profound sense of responsibility, and his deep, abiding love for his family serve as a stark contrast to the chaotic, deceptive circumstances surrounding Holden's birth. Lily draws strength from Neil's memory, silently asking for his guidance as she attempts to support her newfound brother. She wonders how Neil would have handled this monumental revelation, how he would have embraced Holden and integrated him into the complex fabric of their family. The realization that Neil is not here to offer his wisdom and his grounding presence is a fresh, sharp ache in Lily's heart, a reminder of the profound void his passing left behind. Yet, she also recognizes that she is the custodian of his legacy, that it is her responsibility to embody his values of compassion, honesty, and fierce familial loyalty in the face of this unprecedented crisis. By guiding Holden toward the truth, Lily is honoring Neil's memory, ensuring that the Winters family, despite its flaws and its secrets, remains a place of ultimate truth and unconditional support. As Holden contemplates the terrifying prospect of confronting Malcolm, he is paralyzed by a profound fear of rejection. What if Malcolm, in his weakened, vulnerable state, is unable or unwilling to process the magnitude of Holden's pain? What if the revelation of Stephanie's deception causes Malcolm further physical distress, accelerating his decline? Holden is trapped in an agonizing moral dilemma, torn between his desperate need for emotional unburdening and his deep-seated fear of causing harm to the father he has only just found. The guilt of potentially burdening a dying man with the heavy weight of his childhood trauma is a crushing, suffocating force. He questions his own motives, wondering if his desire for closure is fundamentally selfish, a prioritization of his own emotional needs over Malcolm's physical well-being. This internal conflict is a testament to Holden's profound empathy, a demonstration of his innate goodness despite the toxic environment of deception in which he was raised. He is a man desperately searching for a way to heal himself without inflicting further pain upon others, a delicate, almost impossible balancing act. Lily senses Holden's hesitation, the subtle pulling away from the precipice of confrontation. She understands the source of his fear, recognizing the profound guilt that often accompanies the pursuit of painful truths. With a gentle and wavering voice, she attempts to dismantle his anxieties, assuring him that Malcolm, despite his physical frailty, is a man of immense emotional resilience. She reminds Holden that Malcolm has weathered countless storms throughout his life, that he has faced his own demons and navigated the treacherous waters of complex family dynamics. Lily argues that shielding Malcolm from the truth of his own son's existence and the pain of Stephanie's lie is not an act of protection, but a continuation of the very deception that caused this tragedy in the first place. She emphasizes that true connection, the kind of connection Holden so desperately craves, can only be built upon a foundation of absolute honesty, regardless of how painful that honesty might be. Lily's words are a beacon of clarity in Holden's fog of uncertainty, a powerful reminder that the pursuit of truth is a fundamental human right, a necessary step toward genuine healing. The shared silence between them deepens, a profound, resonant quiet that speaks volumes about the magnitude of their shared experience. They are two souls bound by the invisible, unbreakable threads of family and tragedy, sitting in the eye of a hurricane of emotional chaos. The world outside their secluded space continues to spin, a chaotic whirlwind of corporate battles, legal dramas, and medical emergencies. But in this singular moment, nothing exists outside the profound reality of their sibling bond. Holden looks at Lily, truly seeing her for the first time not just as a prominent figure in Genoa City, but as a sister, a confidant, and a fellow traveler on the treacherous road of Winter's family history. The gratitude he feels for her unwavering support, her profound empathy, and her fierce commitment to the truth is overwhelming, a warm, comforting light in the darkest period of his life. He realizes that while he may have lost the phantom father of his childhood, he has gained a real, tangible connection to a sister who understands the unique, agonizing pain of their shared legacy. Lily, too, is profoundly changed by their interaction. The discovery of Holden's existence has expanded the boundaries of her family, challenging her understanding of her own history and forcing her to confront the lingering shadows of her parents' past. She feels a fierce, protective instinct toward Holden, a deep-seated need to shield him from further pain and to guide him through the complex, often treacherous landscape of their family dynamic. The realization that she is no longer the only child navigating the complicated legacy of Malcolm Winters brings a strange, unexpected sense of comfort. A feeling of shared burden that lightens the load she has carried for so long. Lily knows that their journey together is only just beginning, that there will be countless obstacles, painful revelations, and moments of profound despair ahead. Yet, as she looks into Holden's eyes, she sees a reflection of her own resilience, a shared determination to confront the demons of their past and to forge a future built upon the solid, unshakable foundation of truth. The agonizing reality of Malcolm's aplastic anemia remains the dark, pulsing heart of their current crisis. The desperate search for a bone marrow donor, spearheaded by the returning Kane Ashby, is a race against an unforgiving clock. Every conversation, every revelation, every tear shed is framed by the terrifying possibility that Malcolm might not survive to see the resolution of this monumental family drama. Holden's desire to confront Malcolm is inextricably linked to this medical terror, a desperate attempt to secure a moment of genuine connection before the final curtain falls. The profound unfairness of the situation, that Holden has finally found his father only to be forced to watch him fight a losing battle against a relentless disease, is a cruel, devastating twist of fate that defies comprehension. Lily and Holden are united in their profound helplessness, forced to stand on the sidelines as medical professionals fight to save the man who represents the missing piece of Holden's soul and a complicated, deeply loved chapter of Lily's history. As Holden mentally prepares himself for the inevitable confrontation with Malcolm, he begins to construct the narrative of his confession. He plans to start with the playground taunts, the visceral memory of being the kid with the dead dad, the agonizing shame of his fabricated stories. He wants Malcolm to understand the sheer weight of the phantom grief he was forced to carry, the profound isolation of mourning a man who was, in reality, living a vibrant, complex life miles away. Holden knows that these words will be incredibly painful for Malcolm to hear, a stark, devastating illustration of the collateral damage caused by his absence and Stephanie's deception. Yet, he also hopes that by sharing this pain, he can bridge the vast, silent chasm that has separated them for decades. He hopes that Malcolm will see not just the angry, betrayed son, but the wounded, vulnerable child who spent his entire life desperately searching for a father's love. The impending conversation is a terrifying leap of faith, a desperate gamble that absolute vulnerability will yield the connection he so profoundly craves. Lily's role in this unfolding tragedy is that of a quiet, steadfast guardian. She recognizes that she cannot fight Holden's battles for him, that she cannot shield him from the inevitable pain of confronting his past. Her responsibility is to provide the emotional scaffolding necessary for him to take that terrifying leap, to ensure that he does not fall into the abyss of his own despair. She is the keeper of the Winters family history, the one who can contextualize Malcolm's flaws and Stephanie's deception within the broader, complex narrative of their shared legacy. By offering Holden a nuanced, honest portrait of their family, Lily is equipping him with the tools he needs to navigate the treacherous waters of his newfound reality. Her unwavering support is a powerful testament to the enduring strength of familial bonds, a demonstration that even in the face of profound betrayal and devastating illness, the capacity for love, empathy, and fierce protection remains undiminished. The shadows in the room seem to lengthen, mirroring the deepening emotional gravity of their conversation. Holden takes a deep, shuddering breath, the physical manifestation of his profound internal struggle. He is a man standing at the crossroads of his existence, forced to choose between the suffocating safety of his mother's lie and the terrifying, liberating reality of the truth. The path ahead is fraught with pain, uncertainty, and the very real possibility of further heartbreak. Yet, propelled by Lily's unwavering encouragement and his own desperate need for closure, Holden makes the silent, agonizing decision to step into the light. He resolves to walk into that hospital room, to look into the eyes of the father he never knew, and to finally, irrevocably, speak his truth. The decision brings a strange, fragile sense of peace, a quiet calm that settles over the turbulent waters of his soul. He is ready to face the ghosts of his past, to reclaim his narrative, and to demand the honesty he has been denied his entire life. Lily watches this internal transformation with a profound sense of pride and sorrow. She sees the subtle shift in Holden's posture, the newfound resolve in his eyes, and knows that,